how I was successful.
Ecom gains.
Dropshipping challenge.
4-figure Shopify dropshippers.
Millions in sales from dropshipping.
How to operate an e-commerce business tax-free. E-commerce and dropshipping is one of the fastest growing business models that thousands of young entrepreneurs are already doing extremely profitable. Wouldn't it be horrible if those hardworking entrepreneurs had to pay 30 to 50% taxes on top of their already very tight profit margins? The good thing is paying as low as absolutely zero taxes on an e-commerce business can generally be pretty easy if you keep the structure clean and set it up properly. How, you may ask? Let's dive in. We will explore multiple different scenarios during this video. First, if you are the average dropshipper delivering your products from China directly to your customers, then one structure in particular is very efficient, easy, and can't cause much problems. It entails becoming a tax non-resident in your high-tax home country and getting residency in either a 0% tax country or one with a territorial tax system. You'll then operate your business through a pass-through entity like a US LLC or a UK LLP. A pass-through entity won't be tax liable where it's incorporated, and all of the profits will just get passed on to you. If that type of income won't trigger any personal tax liability anywhere, then you are 100% tax-free on those profits. There are over 30 jurisdictions where you could move to and from where you could operate your e-com business tax-free. Dubai can certainly be an option, but it's by far not the only one. Another cost and time-efficient one that's very popular currently is the Paraguayan permanent residency. But there are many more that can be chosen based on personal lifestyle, preference, cost, and other requirements. If you actually need to live there at all, will depend less on the country you're choosing though, and more on the requirements of your home country to deregister and become non-tax liable. If you can make it out without needing a tax residence certificate from another country, then technically, no stay in another country is required, and you can freely travel the world. All of this is harder if your operations contain you having a local warehouse, employees in a country, or engage in other trade or business locally, especially in the country you are incorporated in. This doesn't mean having clients locally, but having so-called dependent agents, people or operations hired or set up specifically working for you only. If you would need to hire employees or have a warehouse locally, then this can be solved with a second staffing company to separate the local operations out from the company that handles the payments and clients. It becomes a completely different scenario if you want to stay in your home country full-time. The question arises, can you set up an offshore company in a no-tax jurisdiction and manage it from your home country? This could certainly be possible, but depends largely on the CFC rules enforced by the country you're living in, and essentially are managing and controlling the company from. You might need to set up sufficient economic substance in the country of incorporation. Also, pass-through entities are most likely useless in this scenario. Each country has its own rules on foreign-owned corporations, and thus need to be navigated individually. A full guide on CFC rules will drop on our YouTube in the coming weeks. Subscribe now to not miss it. Another thing we need to do in this analysis is to differentiate between US citizens and residents, and everyone else in the world. If you're a US citizen and want to avoid taxes as much as possible by setting up structures offshore, check out our video specifically made for US citizens. One important factor to decide where you want to incorporate an e-commerce business is also payments. Payment processing fees can vary a lot depending on where your business is located. While many popular offshore destinations like Labuan, Panama, British Virgin Islands, etc. don't even have access to good processors, even Dubai companies get hit with 4% plus processing fees for payments. This is about 1 to 2% higher than the average you would pay in the US or UK. Keep in mind, this is 1 to 2% of revenue. 1 to 2% of revenue can be about 5 to 10% of profit for an e-commerce business, considering the average profit margin of only 20%. Also, a UAE PayPal account will need to be settled into the local currency dirhams, so on top of the high fees, they'll also rip you off with ridiculous exchange rates. The key here would definitely be to operate through a pass-through entity. Such an entity could even be owned by an offshore company like a UAE free zone company if you need an intermediary to go between you and the pass-through entity. We most certainly recommend either a US LLC or a UK LLP. A Canada LP is also a commonly used structure. Which one the best is for you depends on your specific operations, vision for the future, and where your clients are located. With a UK LLP, you get easier access to the European VAT system and to European payment providers like Molly and Klarna, and even PayPal. A US LLC is better suited if you're selling to US clients and want access to US banks and credit institutions. What a lot of people don't know is, through a US LLC, you can even get an individual taxpayer identification number, which then allows you to build personal credit in the US and get some of the best credit cards like the Amex Platinum.
Nice.
US LLCs can also be great in a situation of corporate mismatch. Since a US LLC is a hybrid between a partnership and a corporation, which is an entity type not known to most other countries, you can get away with it being treated as a corporation abroad. Let's say you're doing the NHR program in Portugal and are eligible to receive dividends tax-free from abroad. Then, you can, in practice, receive a payment from a US LLC in Portugal as a dividend, even though an LLC cannot technically distribute dividends. This is because an LLC gets treated as a corporation in Portugal, which it really isn't. But more on that in another video. If you're interested in structuring this for yourself and your e-commerce business, contact us through the link in the description.